All righty. Ladies and gentlemen, we now call to order our May 20th council meeting. I'd like to recognize Councilman Nathaniel Miller, who will lead the invocation.
Let's bow our heads. Heavenly and merciful Father, as we come upon you tonight, we ask you, God, to bless us. Dear God, thank you for letting us see another day. And as we go about this meeting tonight, let us do what's best for the town of Blackstone. These are all blessings we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. We now invite you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. Just a reminder to council, we're going to have a continued meeting, I believe, May 30th to resolve some zoning issues. So if we get hung up tonight on anything that looks like we're going to be at an impasse, we do have May 30th as an option to.
We just need to continue tonight?
Yeah, we're not adjourned tonight. We'll continue the meeting at the conclusion of the meeting. We do have a closed session, I think, to consider some personnel.
Well, we can wait until we meet with the Police Employment Committee.
Okay.
Sat down, so
Then no closed
let's do
session
that
tonight.
first, no closed session.
Wonderful, wonderful. Folks, we'll get right into it. We have 3 scheduled public hearings. The first is an issue the council's been toying with for some time. It's an advertised hearing to vacate a portion of Powell Street. It's not asphalt street. It's a street that's on paper, never been opened. Mr. Town Manager.
We have an issue, and there is an unimproved, unopened portion of Powell Street that basically runs from what is now Birch Street to what is now West Entrance Road. And that unopened street is 50 foot wide, and it runs in front of Miss Annie Williams' property. In fact, she's the majority property owner on both sides of the street. Her sister, Ms. Jones, does own a parcel of property that abuts that section of the street, which is specific to what we're talking about, which is from the property that Ms. Hardaway previously owned that she had sold to Frankie Williamson south of West Entrance Road. And that's the portion of Powell Street that's in the discussion tonight.
Okay. The proposal is to simply vacate. You said 50 foot wide?
I believe so.
Okay, very good. This hearing's been duly advertised.
And if I may, I think it was the Fire and Water Committee, we went down there and looked at it. And I think if you look also, Jennifer has a Fire and Water Committee.
The minutes.
And I think even further, there's a recommendation from the committee to move forward. The one issue that wasn't in the recommendation, and that's not because the committee voted against it, I think the committee's consensus was we'd like to talk to the full council.
The $4,000.
$4,000. So it's not actually in the motion of the committee.
Right.
But the committee's intention was we want to have the full council consider that. Okay. In order for this to be vacated, there will need to be an easement granted from Annie Williams to the town of Blackstone of 20 foot wide, okay? Because it'll be outside. You would vacate, there would be in exchange a 20 foot easement granted to the town. That way Mr. Williamson could build his sewer line. In addition, the town would agree to put 2 connections, because neither of those homes are currently on the town sewer. Put 2 connections there, leave them.
Waive the fee, waive the
tap fee, and leave them disconnected until such time as the Williams or the Jones families decide they wanted to connect on. Okay. And one other request was to move the sewer line 5 feet to the west, if I'm not mistaken.
And everybody agreed to that as well, including Frankie Williamson.
Yeah, Frankie was there.
Doesn't hurt the gravity flow or anything like that?
Not as far as I know, no. I think the only issue is there's some big trees, and we're gonna try to stay out of the trees as much as we can.
The only thing that was not, like I said, the recommendation you've just outlined to vacate and all that good stuff, the only thing that was recommended, not recommended, but discussed at the committee level was to reimburse Ms. Williams a fee of $4,000. She had just recently bought a
Just put a drain field in.
new drain field in her.
I
Okay.
understand it may have been a box and a distribution box as well, but I'm certain it was a drain field.
I'd like to open public hearing. I'm going to do things a little different tonight. I know there are people here in favor of vacating. Anyone here tonight opposed to vacating the unopened portion of Powell Street? Just get that out of the way right there. Okay? And people that are here in favor, raise your hand of vacating. Does anyone like to speak tonight on the specifics of the deal, the nuances about the $4,000, that sort of thing? This is your opportunity to speak if you're in favor of the town paying the $4,000. It's all open for discussion right now. We know y'all are in favor of, the recommendation from the committee is to vacate. I've seen or heard no one speaking. I'll close the public hearing. Members of council, what's your pleasure?
I move to approve of the committee's recommendation as presented.
Mr. Nash has moved, Ms. Thompson is second to approve the recommendation, and that does not include the $4,000 payment.
Correct.
Any further discussion? And just so we're clear, they're allowed to hook up to town sewer at no $800 tap fee.
Correct.
Okay.
Is there any ideas to when Frankie plans on putting
I really
sewer in?
I just know he's kind of stuck at this point on gravity sewer. He can always build a pump station. And we don't want that. He doesn't want that.
Then they don't want
Hopefully
that.
the property owners recognize what it is. It's not in anybody's best interest.
He's got the building permit ready to build, doesn't he?
He's got a zoning permit.
Zoning permit.
And a zoning approval, but he has not applied for a building permit yet.
75 units, 60 units, something like that?
One, I think, is what was presented, and I
Okay.
think if he exceeds the 71, he may be able to do more by density, but I think his presentation to you was 71 units, and I think anything in excess of 71 should come back to council.
Very good. We have a motion that's been made and duly seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for a voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, 7-0. And just for roll calls tonight, whose turn is it? Is it Mr. Nash tonight? It's Colonel Tom, okay. Our second public hearing is a two-parter, really. The first part is to declare surplus 21 and a half acres in the industrial park.
Hold up.
Yes,
So what do we do? Are we gonna give her the $4,000 or what?
the motion, that has not been, the motion was to vacate the alley, to do the easement, to waive the tap fee for sewer. The $4,000, I've not heard a motion to that. Do you want to discuss it? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump over that.
If I may,
Yes,
this has been a little bit of a testy issue. Obviously, the property owners were unaware, either that Powell Street existed or that sewer
they just
line-
saw flags one day in their yard.
ribbons out there one day in our yard. Is the council obligated? No, Eric's right. They're not obligated to do that. But I do think if you read the minutes from last month, there is one issue. Remember we talked about, is there a deed, is there not a deed? And Tessie's response was, it doesn't need to be a deed. However, from 1924, I can't confirm that
we
the
accepted
town
it. We
accepted
did not accept it.
So I guess we could keep on looking in the minutes, or our minutes go back to 1930s or something like that. As a matter of trying to resolve the matter as amicably as possible,
Amen.
I don't want to go against a 7-0 vote, and man, we'll do whatever you guys say, but as a matter of trying to put a matter to bed and resolve it, 1 for Frankie, 2 for the Williams family, 3 for the town as a whole. If anything, I would say pay the $4,000, and if you wanted to reserve something, the movement of the line 5 feet probably has the least impact, but I think that was the spirit of what the committee had already discussed. And
Okay.
I don't want to contradict what you guys have
Well,
done.
council has not spoken right on the 4,000 yea or nay, and I'm glad Mr. Miller brought that
I
up.
think we're going to end up, no offense, Mr. Nash, I think we'll end up in the same situation as before, and I don't think we'll have made any progress. We'll have vacated the street, but remember, Annie's still got to sign an easement. She's got to grant us an easement to make this work.
Which she seems to be willing to do, from what I've been told.
Willing to do, but one of the conditions that they had.
Was it 4,000? Okay.
Okay, yeah, so I got a question.
I'm sorry, guys, I just.
No, I appreciate the candor, absolutely.
I would like to put a motion on the floor that we go ahead and satisfy this thing by giving the family the $4,000. Get it off the books, get it over with. There's no need to let stuff keep dragging on.
Would that be, I agree with that, but would that be after everything's signed, so there's gonna be progress
Everything's gotta
forward?
be-
Make sure everything, it's a final action on this matter. I think I heard Ms. Jones second it?
Yes, second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
So it's a town right away. I mean, there's no,
There's no doubt
I mean,
that the plat was recorded.
But Mr. Golson did raise a lot of good points. I tell you, I have to say, I don't think he's an attorney, but he did a great job because he was relentless and he was accurate. And
The issue that was brought up by Mr. Golson was about a deed. And typically in a land transaction, if you guys do them,
recorded.
seller prepares a deed and grants it to the buyer and all that kind of thing. In this instance, and as is currently the case, when a subdivision is recorded at the courthouse, this one was, I believe, in 1904, excuse me, I said 2404. When it was recorded, the act of recordation acted as the transfer. We give this to the town, okay? What wasn't clear, okay, is that the town accepted it.
And that's part of the code
and
that
I
we have
can't
to accept.
prove 1904, I just don't
but
have
how
any-
much of the rest of the town was divided in 1904?
1899, most of it are 1897.
What keeps us from everybody else coming up wanting $4,000?
Because no one else, very few people are on town or not on town sewage.
You're gonna start hearing them. There's more than you think. 10th Street area.
But they don't have this is a unique issue with the apartments being built and it's just really kind of been an unfortunate.
And so those of you that may not know, our original plan that Frankie presented to me, that I presented to Miss Williams and to the adjacent property owner, actually took the sewer line across private property. I think it was a shorter run to East Street, okay? And believe it or not, Miss Williams was somewhat agreeable with obviously, hey, I just put the drain field in, that definitely came up. And then the other property owner, I thought was gonna say yeah, and she said no. So this is really Plan B. This is the only other way to get a gravity sewer out of there. And I don't like spending $4,000, and I hope we don't set a precedent. But I think that was the spirit of the agreement with the committee, and I hope I didn't step on any toes.
I think we let the record show, ask the clerk, let the record show it's a very unique situation. The town is gaining 2 sewer customers, correct?
In the future.
Yeah, I mean, so,
But we will gain Frankie ultimately.
correct. We're not delaying a project that could,
I mean, if you talk to Frankie, that's not guaranteed. I mean, that's a pipe dream, to be honest. What Frankie's proposing over on
Again, I
Lester
don't have
Street.
any indication he's ready to break ground or
I
anything.
mean, he could possibly, now that he gets this, sell the property because he's got it. And you're not gonna see development on this. You won't see it anytime soon.
I mean,
So
we shall see. But we have a motion and a second before this council right now, and I don't feel the need for a roll call vote. I'll ask for, unless there's any other discussion, I'll ask for all in favor to say aye. Aye. Opposed?
nay.
Motion carries 6-1. Going on to public hearing number 2, we have a request to declare surplus 21 and a half acres in the industrial park. That's going to be the first hearing, but just in the interest of full candor, the second part of the hearing is to sell that 21 and a half acres to a current landowner in the park. That'll be the second hearing.
Did we discuss where the 4,000 will come from first?
That would be up to council discretion. You could go discretionary fund or water and sewer fund.
Water and sewer. Where would it have to come from?
Common consent, water and sewer fund. All right. And then the hearing number 3 will be the same 21 and a half acres. We have a proposal to sell that to Walker Construction,
SWCI?
SWCI, at the price I read in my package, $38,700.
$1,800 an acre.
So,
That would be, we assume it's 21 and a half. Survey would have to be conducted, and that would be the final selling price per acre. In addition, we're also asking, the road that goes in there, Babs Lane? He will own if this passes, he would own everything past Frank Carlo's building in the industrial park,
on both sides.
on both sides.
Yeah.
Past
My
that
recommendation,
road.
and I would recommend including that in the acreage that he purchases from the town and let that be his.
Street.
Street.
So we would end town maintenance at the Frank Carlos.
We don't maintain it really well anyhow, but that would definitely make it his responsibility
Okay.
for maintenance. We're pretty ugly down there.
Hearing number 2, this is a hearing to declare surplus 21 and a half acres in industrial park. Anyone here tonight against it? Against the town parting company with 21 and a half acres? I know Mr. Walker's here. I'm sure he's in favor. If you'd like to speak, this is your opportunity. You don't have to. All right. Mr. Van Orbeck?
I'd like to see all of it purchased.
On the tax rolls, on the tax rolls. And just for the public audience benefit, let's remind the audience and the people watching, SWCI already owns land in the industrial park, and the purpose of this, his plans for this property are to,
To expand, right now, if you go down there, he has a materials recovery, a MRF. Brings in pieces of concrete, brings in pieces of asphalt, brings in construction debris, clean and non-putrescible, which is a term means it's not brush, it's not leaves, it's nothing that DEQ gets themselves involved in.
Recycle.
This is inert material that he recycles. He makes crush and run out of chunks of concrete. If you've ever been down there, it's kind of a amazing thing he does. I think he's working on leveling that site where he already is on 13 and a half acres that was sold to you, I think in 2015 or 16. And he's got a small yard there and then his materials. And he'd like to continue on to literally to the edge of the industrial park. If you remember, we cut some timber. Those of you that were here remember we cut some timber down there. And this is at the very end of Babs Lane. The reason this property has a lower appraised value is because it's not graded. The property he bought the first time had been graded. I
yes,
think
it had.
Woodson and them.
Was going to be a possible recreation facility.
And really made it a nice site. This site is cut over And it does have some cleared area, but it's not graded. I mean, it's just,
Okay. I'm going to declare that hearing closed. You've heard the town manager's report. We would need a simple motion to declare surplus of 21.5 acres. Then we'll have our third public hearing on specifics.
I make a motion that we declare this as
Second.
surplus.
Ms. Hasbrook has moved, Mr. Morgan has seconded to declare surplus of 21.5 acres. Due to the value of the property, I'll ask for a roll call vote, starting with Colonel Tom. To declare surplus.
Aye.
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 That motion carries 7-0. The third public hearing is the specific proposed sale of the 21.5 acres to SWCI. The total price is $38,700 and some change. It's about $1,800 an acre, I believe.
and if you look, there's attached probably a Google Earth view, and I think you can get the idea. And I'll stand here to show you. This is north. North is this way. This is Babs Lane coming in. He currently owns about 13 acres right here. Okay? The residue that he's intending on purchase is here. Okay? And we use the sewer line as the back property line. If you look right here, there are two stormwater detention ponds.
Yep.
Those would be, certainly the one behind the 13.5 acres belongs to the town, where we may either have to do an easement or cut it out for the other detention pond. But those two detention ponds were built as part of the industrial park originally. We maintain them, okay? The reason we would maintain those is because they also serve across the creek, which is the residue of the industrial park. So when we work this out, this is the portion that he's intending to buy, using the existing sewer line or sewer easement at the southern terminus, Babs Lane is the northern terminus, and the division between what in the subdivision of the industrial park was lots 6 and 7, 7 being Courthouse Road landfill. If you've ever been down there, there's an old landfill off of Courthouse Road. Okay, and that would be that dividing line right there.
All right.
It may be more, it may be less, but it'll be $1,800 per acre based on the actual final survey. And you surveyed it last time. Are you intending on surveying it again?
Okay. Anyone here, I'm going to open the public hearing on issue number 3. Anyone here tonight to speak against the town selling this land for $38,700 to SWCI? Mr. Walker, I see you're here. I know you very much support it. Anyone else would like to speak? We're trying to get more land on the private sector, tax rolls. Don't know how many jobs there would be, but it's certainly a unique industry, and it's good to have a local business here in town.
Power issues in the park, it's,
The only thing we can do.
that's about what you can do. You're
Right.
not requiring any powers or service or anything like that. And maybe we can get over that hump one day, and we're all hopeful.
Okay. I'm going to close the hearing and ask for council's comments or motion.
Move to approve the sale of 21.5 acres, so about at $1,800 per acre.
Second.
Mr. Miller has seconded Mr. Nash's motion. Any other discussion?
I would like to ensure that there is some environmental compliance either written into the deed.
Okay. It will comply with all applicable,
And I'd ask that the motion also include that the sale includes the road,
include the road.
includes the Babs Lane.
Babs Lane right away. Yes, that's fine. I mean, something that I think he recognizes he has to do that, but we'll put in the deed, yeah.
Is that agreeable to council, those revisions? Due to the fact that it's a dollar value over $10,000, we'll have a roll call vote, starting with Colonel Tom.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 7-0.
Well, Jason is here.
Yes.
I don't have this on the agenda, but he did ask me about it. And
Okay.
as the 1st of July is coming, as you know, Jason is our contractor of record for curb and gutter.
No doubt.
sidewalk.
Yes, he is.
He had the contract, and that only expired July 1st. His current prices, he's willing to honor them, and I think we have this conversation literally every year.
Please do.
And if you want to honor the same prices, we can continue it for another year. It was advertised for additional years. I don't know what the construction environment is about curb and gutter and those kinds of things, but if you have some questions, I think Jason would agree to continue your price.
$50 a linear foot?
Whoever it is currently.
Okay.
You need a motion for that? I mean,
If you're gonna.
Just so the public knows, we approved a contract with a 2-year contract with a 1-year renewal that does not require to be bid under procurement law.
1-year contract
Right.
with 2 renewables.
Okay.
If chosen to do that.
So if council wishes to renew at the current price of $50 a linear foot, which if you're in the curb and gutter, you want curb and gutter, you would split that. You'd pay $25 per linear foot in front of your property.
with fuel prices and construction prices, I think we'd be crazy not to honor the current prices, because they will be, I'm sure they're higher now.
They go up every year.
Yeah, every year. Nothing ever goes
Sounds
down.
like a motion to me, Mr. Nash.
So,
And Ms. Thompson is second. Due to the dollar value the town may incur, I'll ask for a roll call vote, starting with Colonel Tom.
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
All right.
Motion carries 7-0. We'll go on now to your minutes. There are two batches of minutes from the special call meeting in March 18th and regular council meeting of April 15th.
I move to approve the minutes as presented for March 18th and August 15th, 2019.
Second.
We'll get the second to Colonel Tom. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Fire chief has a rather busy report. All good stuff. Oh, I'm sorry. This is visitors. I'm so sorry. This is the first of two opportunities you have tonight to address council. We have an opportunity here at the beginning. We have an opportunity at the end before we adjourn. Any citizens here with any comments, questions, concerns? Yes, sir. Come forward, state your name and where you live and all that good stuff.
All right. My name is Fred Hanbury. I live on Gravett Avenue, moved here from Farmville.
Okay.
And I just had two questions. One, I noticed your water and sewer seems to be very high, your rates, compared to Farmville, because that's where I came from.
Sure, sure.
Familiar with. But for me, it's double what it was there.
Really? Because we're the
You
cheapest
have
in
a-
Nottaway County. That surprises me. Wow.
You have a 3,000 gallon minimum. And where I came from, we had a 1,500 gallon minimum. But it's still higher. Quite a bit.
Is your sewer in Farmville and Blackstone, your sewer is basically what your water is? Do y'all have that, is that rate structure the same in Farmville where,
Well, in Farmville, it's 120% of the water
aha,
with the 24 minimum.
okay. Okay. But
So,
overall, your bills are
like-
double.
Like my bill was $24 in Farmville. In Blackstone, it's 50. 400 gallons of water cost me $50.
Okay.
So, I thought that was kind of high. So
Yes,
I thought
sir.
I might ask about that. Also, an issue that really doesn't involve me at the present time, and hopefully won't, but I'm told by the Public Works Department that the property owners are responsible for the water line in the street, the sewer line.
I don't believe that's correct, is it?
Is that?
From hook up to the house.
I'm gonna come to the mic so they
All
can
right,
get my comment.
oh, okay.
The town of Blackstone's mains, the main lines all belong to the town. Repairs, maintenance, construction, fire hydrants, any of those kinds of things that are associated with the main. On the water side, the town owns the meter. So the line from the main to the meter, which is typically at the property line, the town owns, and then the water line from the meter to the house is the responsibility of the property owner. On the sewer, it is 100% that lateral. Even if it's in the right-of-way, that lateral belongs to the property owner. Okay, it's been like that for gosh knows, however, that's not a new policy of any kind. But the meter back belongs to the town, but on the sewer side, it's from the foundation of the building or to the house, back to the main, even if it's out in the street.
Okay. All right. Was that different is it different in Farmville on that as well?
Farmville does the sewer to the property line,
Okay.
water and sewer.
Have you had to fix a sewer line since you've been here, or?
Not here, not in the street,
Okay.
but, I thought for the homeowner to have to go and pay for fixing the line in the street, I had never heard of that.
And I don't know why years ago that distinction was made. Why there was
I've never heard of
Town
that.
code even calls for it. but-
If the pipe's going longitudinally, it's the town. If it's
Right.
going laterally, it's mine.
absolutely.
I will add that
Which-
the funding agencies that pay for a lot of our construction projects, Virginia Resource Authority,
DRA.
DEQ, Department of Health, they will only pay, if you remember, they would only pay on that sewer project over on College and Brunswick.
2013.
They would only pay to the property line. They would, but we, the town, replaced all the sewer laterals back to the house.
Including mine.
So funding agencies typically will only
the
reimburse
property
reconstruction
line.
to the property line.
Well, that's what I'm saying, to the property line. But I'm told here it's to the street.
But to where that main,
connection is.
where that connection is, right, which is a few feet probably, yes, several feet on the town right away. That's interesting. It's good to have perspective from someone that's moved here. These are things we just we don't hear about a lot of times. We just take them for granted. We appreciate that.
Because like if I had to go into the street or the alley or something in a town street, that would be a huge expense.
That's interesting.
If I had to dig up Blackstone Street.
We're having a big, we have
A sewer line.
Are we saying that the property owner will be responsible for repaving the street?
We don't charge property owners for that.
No, okay.
That's kind of.
We recompact the trench. We do these fairly often, not every day, but at least once a month, we do something very similar. And Andre makes the connection, because we don't want people taking a hammer and bashing a hole in the pipe and, So Andre's there, and he actually uses a particular type of saddle, which is, say it's an 8-inch sewer line, it's an 8x4 T. It's a rubber gasket, and it'll all fit in there. Andre will make the connection, okay? And if it's in the street, we do the compaction, because we don't want it to settle, for obvious reasons, and we don't come back and get the property owner 6 months later when the pavers are in town to pave it. We pave that at our expense. We don't charge them for that. And Andre will assist in the connection, but the actual digging would be the property owner's plumber or contractor that would do that.
Mr. Hanbury, we appreciate your comments. How have you found Blackstone other than the rate structure and the,
Blackstone is very nice.
Good to hear
It's
that.
a very
Good.
lovely town.
good to hear that.
It's in need of economic development.
No doubt.
As you are certainly aware.
Sure.
But it's very nice here, very nice people. And I have enjoyed it.
Welcome. When did you move here? How long have you been here?
About 5 months.
Okay. Well, great. Feel free to come back in every third Monday or even at the committee level.
Okay, but I just had those couple of issues I thought I would.
They're good observations and duly noted, and we will discuss those, I'm sure, and see if there's maybe any tinkering we can do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. All right. Anyone else tonight? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I know some folks are here about the budget recommendation, and we'll
I
be,
did have a question in connection to the conversation that we just had.
yes.
So I live on Tavern Street,
And your name, please, just for the record?
Sierra Roads.
Yes.
I live on Tavern Street. As of right now, we're having sewer and water lines done with the expectation that curbing will be done in the near future.
That's correct.
So that's something that is of concern. I understand that you're stating the town would not have the resident pay for something if it were to occur. How do we have the confidence of that? Where is that in writing? How would we protect ourselves so as to know that the town would not come and ask
For the
for us
curbing
to?
gutter?
If something were to happen, I mean, we're dealing with old pipes at the residence, new pipes closer to the road. If the
At the
old
property
pipes
line.
That's
were
true.
to explode because of the pressure from the difference, I mean,
Fair assessment.
Very
What we're
good.
doing is exactly what I just told Mr. Hamburg. On Tavern Street, we're replacing the lateral. This contractor is replacing the lateral to the property line and moving the water meter back and putting a new box and everything at the property line, okay? Those property owners who qualify through our SEER cap, if you remember, we received a $90,000 grant to replace the laterals from that point to the house and from the meter to the house as part of our East End grant program. Those that don't qualify, I think we still got some work to do. And when I say don't qualify, meaning their income may be higher than what the thresholds are for participation in the program. And I don't know your income or anything like that, but we still need to probably resolve, are we going to do, and the reason for my comments about College and Brunswick and Lunenburg is the town chose at that time to replace all the laterals.
Makes sense. Why you doing it, do it.
And it was just on the sewer in that instance, but if it's on the water side, on this instance, are we prepared to do that? And I don't have that answer. I think these guys need to sit down and chat it up a little bit, but I will tell you, we did that on College, Brunswick, and Lunenburg because they were so old.
Yep.
And we found a lot of Orangeburg pipe.
They were over 70 years old.
We're finding mostly in your neighborhood that it'd be cast iron, which is crumbling in bad shape and full of buildup. But over on that end of town, which was much older, it was Orangeburg, which is actually paper. It's tar paper wrapped very tightly, and that's what the sewer lines were consisting of. That plus the fact that DEQ wanted us to disconnect all the storm drains. And if you remember, that was part of the big issue. But
Yep.
I don't have an answer for you, but I think it's certainly a consideration for
I
council.
believe the main question is, obviously, why would it be the homeowner's responsibility or the property owner, whoever it be, a tenant or landlord, whatever, to go out in the road. So what kind of burden would it place on the town if the town were to take over to the property line, to the edge of the right?
Probably none until we have a massive blowout, but we hope with new pipe, we don't have those kinds of things. Okay.
Can the, just because it's intriguing, can the
Street and Light Committee?
Street and Light Committee look
Yeah.
into that?
Yeah, I
We'll
think
look
so,
at it.
and a decision would have to come pretty quick, because it's getting nitty-gritty time, isn't it?
I think the issue with the laterals is gonna be a little bit more lengthy because it's not required with the curb and gutter project, which is out to bid now. It'll come when we earnestly start doing a lot of houses, and I think May 24th, we're meeting with the rehab and management teams for the east end. And after that date, and I don't know if you got the memo that they changed the date of the meeting from the 23rd to the 24th, but after that, I think we're gonna start building some houses and renovating houses and demolishing houses.
My concern, I think the east end will, I mean, I would feel certain I think we would do the laterals. But overall, like Mr. Hanberry discussed, policy-wise, that's what I'd like the committee to look at.
Could be a good time to look at the policy. Could
Not-
be.
Not just east end, but town-wide.
And could B&B give us some sort of estimate for those persons that did not qualify for that assistance that you spoke of, what the town could be out of pocket to do this? Very good question.
Thank you.
I'm of the mindset, when you're gonna do something big like this, let's do it right and do it one time. I see another hand up. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, my name is Yamara Jones. I am also a resident of Tavern Street. My name is Yamara Tucker Jones. I also had a concern, I basically want to piggyback on that, because we also have that water meter in our yard, and we really do have a concern as to if something happens with that water meter as it's being moved, or if it damages the pipes, as homeowners, us incurring the cost of that. That would be a significant cost. And if we are not within that range, which I'm pretty sure, some people are outside that range, maybe by a mere few dollars or even $1,000, but if we don't qualify for that grant program, we have no assurances at all. So though it may be what some consider to be a good program, to be helpful for those in the area, for the homeowners that are there, such as myself and my neighbors, for us, it may be something that ends up costing us, tons of money. And if you're a taxpaying citizen in Nottaway County, you've lived here all your life, you love your town, it's kind of hard to, hear that you may be responsible now for fixing something you didn't break. And it's something that was on your property for years, and now it's become detached from your property to be placed where it should have been to start with, on the town side. So,
How much are they being moved, Philip?
Well, I
How
can speak
far
on
are they being moved,
The water meters,
the water meter, to the property line?
Edge of the property line.
believe it
To
or
the edge of the
not,
property
most
line.
of we find with the water meters, they're actually on private property. Typically, they're at the property line. Hers, and most of them on that particular section of Tavern Street are way up in the yard.
Right.
And we're moving them back to the property line, which is the right
Well, they
location.
should be.
But her point is valid in that there's a repair plan.
And I think you remember what happened last week when a neighbor down there
We didn't notify them?
went crazy, and so yes, this issue has been addressed, and we tried to work on it, because like I said, it happened last week down in the area.
Somebody wanted to know why we're in his yard messing with the meter. Well, the town's meter, we're moving it back to the property line, but obviously there was a trench dug
Yeah.
5 feet into his
I got
yard.
called Saturday to what was gonna be the scene of a graduation party, and the crews were down there cutting down trees 1 hour for so maybe a little better communication with some of the crews, but the bigger issue here, as Ms. Tucker Jones has said, I think this is a good chance for the town to have a policy discussion and get this thing right, maybe alleviate some of your concerns. It may require some money.
yes, sir.
And certainly not unreasonable, because
Right.
we did it previously, and there are, because we're moving those meters back, there's a repair point. That's where two places come together, and that's where it's gonna leak if it's gonna leak.
Yes, sir.
I'm not a water sewer guy, but let me ask you this, by us going in and putting new lines along the street and everything, is there more risk for malfunction of these private lines? Is it a pressure change that could cause a line to just blow or whatever?
Sewer is not under pressure.
Okay, it's
Everybody
gravity.
knows. Sewer flows by gravity.
Right.
So it shouldn't be on that circumstance. And the water lines, I think we'll probably have better pressure. We'll have a bigger pipe. We'll have more water. Do I think it'll blow out? I hope not. I have no expectation. It hasn't in the past.
Right.
But I'm not concerned about the size of the pipe. I'm concerned about the
Concern here is
Connection.
plant.
Connection.
Connection, right.
That's where, if it's gonna leak, that's where she's gonna leak. If that clamp comes loose or something, and the point was valid, the fellow over there said, my responsibility just grew by 5 feet.
I think that's the major concern, is how much, but the major concern is how much responsibility they have now.
Absolutely.
That's the major thing.
In other words, I'm not, of course, a plumber or anything, I'm not a contractor, but if I may, if I just use this as an example, if my home is listed, my home is here, and the pipes are here, and something goes wrong and it causes something to break down here, which causes corrosion or causes some kind of, obstruction here, that leaves me vulnerable as a homeowner, and then I incur all the costs of that, even if someone said, hey, you have 2 feet into it, you're responsible for it. But if I can't help that 3 feet or 1 foot in front of that, something happens, now that leaves me vulnerable as a homeowner to incur that cost of repair, timeliness, you may have to take off work just to be able to be there to handle that. It just seems like that's a lot for a homeowner to have to incur for something that started that they didn't do.
How many water meters are having to be moved?
I can't tell you exactly, but I can tell you on the Tavern Street,
It's a
every one.
lot, every one of them.
Everyone,
Mine's
wow.
right yards to my yard, so mine's is really like in the yard.
Let's have the street light committee jump on this, or just, would fire and water be more appropriate? What committee do you prefer, Mr. Chairman? Let's have the fire and water committee look at this thing hard as soon as possible the next month and come up with something that can be a,
And I would like to resolve those people, because we have it resolved that we will replace those water and sewer lines, certainly to the foundation of the house, with sewer cap money. But for those people that don't qualify necessarily income-wise,
And
I
that
think
may be right.
we need to
Right.
resolve that.
there's nothing worse than
Come
having
back
a,
with a number as to how many don't qualify and suppose.
Yeah.
This is where I don't mind spending money because we're creating the issue.
Right.
But such as the $4,000, we didn't. So this is where I don't mind helping out.
Yes, sir.
well, that's fine.
Well, that's pretty much, you pretty much hit the nail on here for me, that was pretty much
Yeah.
it. So I appreciate
Thank you
it.
for addressing council, thank you.
And I will, while you're here,
Okay.
I used to coach Yamara in basketball. I didn't know that until I went out. In 1993, she was on my basketball
All
team.
right.
She reminded me the other day.
Was it a winning season?
She was good. We, there are some trees out on, actually on, one of them is on town right of way and on private property. And I met with Mr. Miller today, and I think the thing to do, when we put that sewer line in there, we cabbaged up the roots terribly on one of those trees. So I have an expectation it's probably not gonna thrive. And, the trench is 12 feet deep,
Three
so.
pine trees in a row.
And so, I'm gonna ask that the property owners sign an agreement saying they give us permission to move them and get those trees out of there, because I think we're gonna certainly kill one, and, if not more. So,
Common consent by council, that sound okay? All right, very good, very good. Thank you, thank you.
And that'll include grinding the stones.
Yes. Progress, these are good problems to have. These problems are associated with progress, and that's always good. Any other visitors before we get into the fire chief's report? And there will be a second opportunity before adjournment, which I hope will be in about an hour or so or less. Chief Tomer, I'm always an optimist. Chief Tomer,
Hey, good evening.
good evening.
We have a lot going on, but nothing that is really overly concerning, which is a good thing. We had the pleasure of Chaplain Foster receiving his Firefighter II and then being awarded by the Bellefonte Grange the Citizenship Award. We joined in Farmville with training from multiple agencies throughout the state, Northern Virginia, Bedford, Albemarle County, to have the opportunity to tear apart a dorm that they're redoing. So our members were able to go in there, knock down doors, break through walls, do a significant amount of training. We took the ladder truck there to exercise that. So it was a great training event.
The one of the high-rise dorms, Fraser Curry, one of those?
Next, right across the street from
McDonald's.
McDonald's, the second one they're doing.
Very good.
Firefighters Corey Murphy and Willie Wright are our two newest career firefighters with the city of Colonial Heights. So I forget what the tally was in the newspaper.
I forgot we called, there's a ton of them from Blackstone.
So we added two more to that list.
It's great.
Our secretary, Steve Bradley, got his life membership this year for 20 years of service. And we have one more coming up for vote. And once again, that puts us at 16 life members out of 50 members. So 16 of them over 20 years of service.
Great.
But other than that, everything has been going well.
I have one question, and I'll open up to council. You wisely noted here, no additional operational funding was approved by the Board of Supervisors. Did they increase the capital outlay?
They increased it last year.
Okay, so what are they giving us? It used to be 25,000 a year.
We received a check for this fiscal year for 45.
It's 45 now, okay.
And
Very
that's been set aside. in-
good, we're gonna need every bit of it. Very good. Any other questions or comments to Chief Tony? Thank you, Chief. Hope we have a quiet summer. Very good. Payment of bills in your packet, ladies and gentlemen. You have the first batch, which is $521,373.75. These are checks not yet approved. Mr. Nash has moved. Is there a second? Motion's been made and duly seconded. Any questions about these checks not yet approved?
The invoice from Nottaway County for dispatching, that's once a year, correct?
It is.
Okay, so we're being charged with $25,000
Wow.
for dispatching.
What's that per capita now? What do they charge?
Is it?
I think more than that.
It's like
Take
7.
25 and divided by,
Yeah.
That's like 7,000 per capita.
you get 3,500 people, so, yeah, it's more like $7.
But we were paying, just so the citizens watching, because I hear time and time people fuss about it. At one time, dispatching was costing this town,
About 125.
okay, so that's important. And when you dial 911, if you're out there watching, you're thinking, why didn't Blackstone dispatching? For the last, since 1991, when you dial 911, it's answered at Nottaway Courthouse. It's never been answered over there. Just wanted everybody to know that.
We'll make a presentation too about 911 and phone numbers tonight. and all that sort of
Good, good.
share.
All right, motion is made and duly second. I'll ask for a roll call vote, starting with Councilman Wilkinson.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 7-0. And your next batch, $234,221.73. These bills, what do we describe them as? They are the bills to be paid, and they're broken down by department.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Thompson, second, and Mr. Nash's motion. Any questions?
Street Department, Warner Seal Coat, you got $22,000 for striping and curb painting.
Good
We're
question.
still not finished though, correct? Because we still got a lot of striping to
Most of
do.
this was done last year.
We just received the bills. Okay.
The only two things that he's done this year is striping Northwest Avenue. If you remember, that
Where
didn't
we-
have
where
any
we
striping.
paved.
Huh?
Where we paved
Where we
recently.
paved on Northwest Avenue, and he did South Main Street from about where we milled out those two lanes. He came back, and I said, man, if you don't do anything else, you gotta do that. But remember, he power washed the window, or the curbs downtown last year, and a good portion of that where he repainted down on South Main Street is actually from last year.
Okay.
We still
He
don't
just now
have,
billing us.
we don't have parking spots.
Yeah, we
on
need
Main
some,
Street.
we need some striping.
Do we have to bid it back out? I mean, because I'm to the point where, I mean, we'll have to repave by the time it gets painted.
Well, Greg knows to do it, and it's Warner Seal Coating, his local guy. And
Yeah.
my intention is to have him finish the yellow curbing and to paint the parking spaces, and Jennifer won't let me forget that they've requested that the parking lot at the medical center have.
Can we set a deadline for painting on Main Street? The parking spots are what concern me.
I agree.
Absolutely. He
It's
needs to
been-
do it.
It's
and
been a while. I
It's
mean,
been
we've
too
had
long.
Plenty of time.
You want to set like June 15th?
I mean, I would think that's fair. Give them a month.
Give him to the end of the fiscal year, say July 1, if you don't
July
have
1.
it,
July 1, if not, we're going to rebid.
we gotta do it.
We'll call the second bidder, whoever it was. All right?
Give him a little
We
money.
need to have a deadline. I mean, it's been a year.
It has been over a year, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And it really does make a difference downtown. It's little things the beautification committee's taught me that just really make a big difference. Any other questions or concerns about these line items, these list of bills? Motion's been made and duly seconded. I'll ask for a roll call vote, starting with Colonel Tom.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 7-0. You have a few recommendations from the Street and Light Committee. I'll ask the chair to take that over to the town manager, Mr. Miller or Mr. Van Orbeck.
Let me go. All right. 107 Dillard Street is a ditch that we looked at. It is an open ditch. The town did do some piping previously from Dillard Street beyond the individual's home, and it kind of stops with a daylighted pipe that has washed out, and I think the committee can attest it washed it out pretty bad. And the property owner has requested that the town pipe in that section of ditch, and I owe the committee, and I have for the committee, a cost estimate for the replacement, or
What is a rough estimate?
$49,000.
49,000. That's a rough estimate from B&B?
It came from B&B because that was originally part of the East End project. We were including that in the East End to see if we can get it resolved. The individual had spoken to me several times previous to East End about doing something with the ditch, and we were hoping we could get some grant money, but the grant just wouldn't provide enough cash to do that. And
I guess the question would be, does council wish to seek bids?
I don't think there's any doubt we need to do
mean,
that
you
if
wanna-
you're gonna
you-
do the pipe.
Do you want to move forward? Do you want to sit back and reflect some? I will say, Mr. Arms, I got to give him full credit. When I knocked on his door in 2006 saying, hey, my name's Billy, I'm running for mayor, that ditch was an issue. Of course, you know,
Continuously getting bigger.
Yeah.
It's a big old hole, it's as deep as this room.
is there any way, just thinking out loud, I mean, I guess if council were to decide to do it, you want to do it all in one swath, it wouldn't be anything you could break up into phases, or it wouldn't make any
Put
sense.
a concrete head wall or some sort of a head wall or retaining wall.
Right.
Per B&B's estimation, there's a wing wall, I think is what they're called, on the end of it. If you're gonna do that, you don't wanna build one and then have to come back and take it.
That estimate's how old? How many years ago was that estimate?
In 2015,
So-
when we first started talking about East End in earnest. This was after the preliminary
Figure
engineering.
You're probably.
60.
Oh,
It's higher.
yeah.
It may be higher. It's a big old
20%
ditch, ain't no doubt. He's not exaggerating about
Come
that.
out there, there's a lot of fill that has to go in there.
I feel, yeah.
Now, I would entertain that we not put the pipe all the way to the end of his property, we just fix the beginning of it. And, because he's the one that let those trees grow in there for 30-plus years.
It's a problem. I mean, it's a big old ditch in man's backyard.
I hear what you're saying, but, man, we going on people's property, which I was gonna mention this to council anyway. And Eric has brought this up, and it seems like me being the chairman on this committee, council is gonna have to make some serious decisions. We're gonna either have to go back, reevaluate or something, because this is an ongoing process. And pretty soon it's gonna be, hey, you do for one, you gotta do for all.
I think there's some individuals in the audience that have
Right.
some thoughts about
So
pipes on private property.
my recommendation is that the council sit down, talk about this thing, and decide how we're gonna tackle this problem before it gets out of hand.
One thing I will just offer to hang your hat on, one of the reasons, we had the issue at Sixth Street, and we're gonna have to discuss that tonight. But I always try to find things that councils can hang their hat on to differentiate. And the key to the Linda Blevins ditch on Sixth Street was the town 40 years ago, we can call it the sins of our fathers, whatever you wanna call it. The town went in there and made a situation better for a while, and then it just didn't hold up and it got worse. You had something to hang your hat on. I think the Philip Arms situation, what Colonel Tom just said, there's a place where the town does have some obligation. But it may not be all the way to what to Mr. Arms' liking, or I think, like I said, I think Mr. Miller's points are spot on. But I think when we find places, I think this council always wants to do the right thing. And sometimes doing the right thing is costly, and sometimes you can kind of get by semi-costly. But I think where the town has fingerprints on a situation that went wrong, that's your determining factor. If we just decide to go on private property because someone says got a ditch, then you're going to basically we'll never build another
And
building.
nobody has agreed to do that.
No.
The only thing everybody's agreed to do is what the town has done before.
Correct.
It's
Right.
nothing that,
Right.
But
so-
like,
and
but
if
like,
it's something needs to be fixed that we created years ago, then we need to fix it.
But I bet 75% of the ditches in Blackstone were town created many, many years ago.
Well,
So,
many, many years ago is where you place the blame, not now.
I know, that's, two wrongs don't
If
make
it's
a right,
something that we
always
have-
go and do
If
it
it's
again.
something that we're responsible to fix, then we should fix it.
Yeah, doing the right thing's never
one
easy.
thing I'm saying,
And that's why in the
only thing
budget
I'm
that
saying, we should
proposed-
study each situation.
I agree with that. We shouldn't just automatically say, well, yeah,
We
we'll
should study
fix
each
it. Each
situation
case, we
before it
should sit
happens.
down and discuss and
Right.
go over it.
But the other thing Mr. Miller said that is important, and Mr. Miller and Mr. Morgan is correct too. To the outside observer, what we don't want to be viewed as is playing favorites and picking people because of where they live or who they are. Then that's not, I can promise you right now, this council, we've had discussions away from here. There's no one in this council that wants to pick and choose. But it does sound bad when you say we want to take each thing on this separately, because it doesn't always appear well. But I can tell you as mayor, this council wants to do the right thing and have like I said, have something to hang their hat on. Mr. Miller, I think you want more time do you maybe want to have a ditch work session? We can talk about this May 30th a little bit? Would that be okay?
I think so.
All right, let's move on to your second recommendation, which is a smaller ditch, I believe, or
If you remember,
Hardy and Luke Street.
Miss Edmonds and her sister Rhodes
Yes.
came in, and were requesting some assistance with a ditch, specifically that runs parallel to Luke Street on the the west side of Hardy Street.
Is it in the town right away?
I believe there's a town alley through there. I couldn't swear to you if it lies exactly in there, but there is a town alley somewhere in those woods, in between those houses. And Ms. Davenport is getting a significant amount of water, but I do believe you have a town alley there, and I think using town forces to clean it out and hopefully getting the water to drain a little better. I don't think we'll be able to stop just at Ms. Davenport. We gotta make sure we get positive flow, so we may just need to
You don't have to
continue.
go but about 150, 200 feet.
If we're on public property in town right away,
I don't think you need a motion to do that. I think you can agree by common consent. That's basic maintenance that the town does.
I just haven't surveyed it to make sure the ditch falls exactly within the alleyway, but the subdivision plat shows an alley. that runs
Very
down.
good. Council, is that okay? Common consent?
common consent.
Moving along, College Road Tree, the tree of Epping Forest.
Look at that rascal.
Here we go. Is that by any chance one of our planning commissioners' trees?
It is Dennis McCarthy.
It's dead.
That's a calamity if that sucker hits those power lines. We talked a little bit, and I think the committee was agreeable to pay to have the top cut out of it. And I've talked to Dennis about this, and I said, would you be willing to participate in the program? We're concerned about the power lines.
Absolutely.
And the committee, I think, recommended that an agreement be signed between the property owner, relieving liability and that sort of thing, and that he understands we're just gonna cut it to the power line.
And if he wants to get it removed while the contractor's there, he would pay the difference.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit bigger than our guys want to fool.
Okay.
They don't like those great big trees like that. They're not.
And just for the audience benefit, again, this is a tree that's on private property, but it's obviously dead. We've got pictures. It hovers above a town power line. So to avoid a power outage, and these things always come up before the council. And I commend the manager bringing it. You have a recommendation to remove the tree from the power line upward.
It almost looks as if it may be in the right of way, to be honest. I mean,
It's close.
It's close.
Close to it.
It's not immediately on the shoulder of the road or immediately on the edge of the pavement.
Probably a $2,000 or $3,000 job.
We cut that, there was a tree over on Brunswick that we cut not long ago, it was $1,100, and it
Okay.
was an equally big tree.
That
Now,
was- yeah.
we'll haul it off. You get it on the ground tree cutter,
We paid to cut that entire tree though.
no, the town hauled it off.
Yeah.
We paid to get it on the ground.
Right.
But the town hauled off all the debris, and we'll do the same here, it's a lot cheaper for us to
Okay.
get that stuff than it is to pay.
Let's have a motion on the tree on College Road.
I move to approve the
Second.
town cut below, to the power line or below, whatever it is, and then the homeowner pay for the rest.
And Mr. Miller has seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. And there's a couple other recommendations. Mr. Miller, 407 Dinwiddie Avenue.
You see a picture of my foot in this, in your board packet. This is a pretty good sized willow oak tree that's on Dinwiddie Avenue. The property owner, myself, and Dan Martin, who previously discussed and we brought it to the street committee. You can see what it's doing to the sidewalks on Dinwiddie Avenue. The property owner at that time, and I assume to be the case still, is very agreeable in having the tree removed. And then therefore we could replace or repair the sidewalk.
Where your foot is in this photo, is that a root that's doing, is that a
That's the trunk of the tree.
trunk of the tree?
Is
Wow.
that tree on private property?
I would say a good portion of it is.
Are they assisting you?
He called us about it, and that's where the whole issue got started. Yeah. But it's mangling up the sidewalk.
We believe it's about $3,500 to take the tree down and correct the sidewalk. That's the estimate.
It's a big tree. It's a day's work for sure.
I think the fact that the town sidewalks evolved again, you got something to hang your hat on.
Correct, but how do we inform citizens to not get trees growing so, I mean,
This tree's probably.
Yeah, it is a lot of trees.
Me and
It
you
is a
wasn't
lot of
around
trees
when that
messing
tree
up
was on the
sidewalks
ground
in
on the
town.
thing.
you may have.
It's a lot of trees messing up
Just-
sidewalks in town, right? It's a lot of trees with roots going on the sidewalks in town.
Different places.
Who is the property owner, if I may ask? I'm just curious.
Gary Jones.
Oh, Gary, okay. He does agree, his yard is always immaculate.
It's been 6 months when he first called me about it, and Dan and I looked at it. And
Okay.
I was like, oh, yeah. And
Remember-
then we carried the street committee.
The recommendation by the committee is to have the property owner sign a waiver and to remove the tree and fix the sidewalk at the town's expense. What's your pleasure?
I make a motion that we do everything we're supposed to do.
All right. And he'll sign the waiver. Ms. Thompson seconded Mr. Miller's motion. Any further discussion? And just ask a question. When things like this come up, that's general fund or,
That would typically be a general fund activity.
okay, general fund?
I think we may be able to, certainly the dead tree, we can say is a threat to electric. We may be able to pay that out of electric fund. I
Right.
think this is a general fund of the street.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. And then we have a report on 702 Luke Street of Valley Curb and Gutter, or Valley Gutter, to help
I think I have
drainage.
found the worst ditch in Blackstone. And this one is on town property.
My goodness.
This is pretty messy, in front of Ephraim Henderson's house. Did I get that right? Is it Henderson?
Stokes.
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 Stokes, Ephraim Stokes.
Mama's at home.
And that rascal stays wet. And obviously, we've had a very wet year, but if you go down there, curb and gutter or piping are not gonna solve the problem, because his yard is actually lower than the edge of the road. So if we were to put something in there, we would create a barrier to getting the water out of his yard. That's why the idea of the valley gutter came out. I quoted to the committee what my initial thoughts were. I said, maybe that's $12,000. I think it'd be about 12. I carried Jason Walker out there, and we have a contractual price for 7-inch gutter, and it was $4,500.
I thought you were about to say 45.
No.
Mr. Nash.
This truly probably, after the lady over on Second Street, this is probably one of the gnarliest ditches in that's a
He lives fairly close. He lives close to Amelia Avenue, doesn't he?
He lives in the first house behind Calvin Parrish's old place.
Gotcha.
On town
gotcha.
property?
It is on town property.
Okay, well,
This
that's,
is town property.
folks, you're hearing it. This is local government at its best. What's your pleasure?
Move to approve.
Mr. Nash making the motion to spend money. My goodness. Is there, Mr. Thompson's gonna second that one.
Look, Citizen Bank would be
I'll
broken
tell you
tomorrow.
what. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. In case you're wondering why we do roll call votes, anything 10,000 or higher requires a roll call vote by code. Less than does not. Move right along to the next committee report, I believe. Is that account and finance? Health and ordinance. All right, got some good ones here. That is Mr. Jones's committee. That's Lonnie's committee. No, that's Sheila's committee. Whoever wants to take it, Ms. Jones or Philip? All right.
The license suspension DMV, this is not a happy story.
It's not a happy
It's
story.
a error on the town's part at the DMV when the ladies were
Those things happen.
receiving some turned-in plates, or somebody was surrendering plates, and I don't think the process was completed, and the gentleman's driver's license, commercial driver's license, was suspended.
CDL, that's money.
He's asking for $1,000 of compensation for lost wages, and we've checked back, and indeed, he was suspended, and it wasn't a result of those plates not being.
We have a letter in the packet from Mr. Christopher Quinn and his employer, who validated this. And the committee recommends to reimburse him for the $1,000 in lost wages for missing, was it, how many days of work? Was it a week of work?
We missed a week of work.
Okay.
I move to approve to cut a check for Mr. Quinn for $1,000 for lost wages.
Motion's been
And
made.
we remember mistakes in the budget.
What, does this come from general fund as well, or?
This would come probably from general fund. Well, general fund, yes, but if there's any DMV revenues or
Yeah.
anything like that, maybe.
Okay. Any further discussion? Councils, we are spending some money tonight, folks. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. And then property lien, something I suggested to my own demise, but go ahead, Mr. Norbeck.
I don't have an answer for you guys, but right now, when the town puts in curb and gutter, sidewalk is at no cost to the property owner. Everybody knows. Curb and gutter is a 50-50 deal, just as the mayor explained a little while ago. It's half and half. If he's charging us $50 a foot, the property owner gets an invoice for $25 a foot. But that, if the property owner chooses not to pay it off immediately, or immediately following construction, we will record it, what is a deed of trust or a lien on the property. A lien is kind of a general term. Deed of trust is a specific document that we will record. And that deed of trust would require that property, not necessarily the property, but that property, whenever it's sold or exchanged, and we've always told folks you don't have to pay it until it gets sold, but we have found in refinances, I think banks want them to be satisfied as well. So most people have to be a little cautious about it. And we record them at the courthouse at no interest for an undetermined span of time until the property's sold or refinanced or whatever happens with it. The mayor had suggested, should we charge interest on that? I'll be honest with you, Julia Staples' house, probably sold, 5 years ago? That rascal sat empty for the longest time, and we put that curb and gutter in front of it. Julia Staples' house, for those that may not know,
College Avenue.
is at the corner of College Avenue and 3rd Street. Old brick house, and there's a fellow, Mike, who's been in here a couple times, who's fixing them up, and it makes it a lot nicer. But we only got paid for that since I had returned, and I know we put that curb and gutter in probably in the mid-90s.
That's correct.
So it was probably a good 10, 20 years of no interest. So when they actually paid, it was only $400.
I don't mind, I'll give you a real world example. I'm considering doing curb and gutter along the side of my house on Virginia Avenue, and my cost would be around $3,000. Now, if my home stays in my family, and say I give it to my children when I leave this world, that $3,000 that the town spent for its share,
100 years.
it's just going on and on. And so I came up with the idea that maybe the town should have some sort of interest rate, but the town manager's made a good point too. Curb and gutter helps the town. You don't want to discourage people from participating because it's good for the town. So it's just sort of I just threw it out there because
Could it possibly be a way that you give, say, 20 years, and then after the 20 years,
Throw
then
in
you
there.
start? I don't know if
Give them a
there's.
Something y'all could
10-year
do.
period, but it is a business decision, and a business decision says charge interest.
I would.
That's a business decision. That is in the best interest of the town long term.
Yep.
We've got some liens out there now. They're in the tens of thousands of dollars of liens that are recorded at the courthouse.
Right.
And
Mr. Walker gets paid when if he does my project, he'll get paid $6,000. The town's gonna pay him $3,000, but Billy Colburn may pay him $3,000 whenever, maybe
but
never.
we front the whole thing. Just like-
Right. Well, members of council, do you want to continue to study that?
I think I owe the committee what other towns and
Okay, Mr. Benorbeck's gonna see what other towns do in the south side. Very good. That concludes that committee report. And then the big one, Mr. Nash, account and finance.
You have in the black little extra thing at your desk, the draft budget. It's nothing to discuss tonight. We're supposed to continue. I don't know if we're going to continue, just do it on the 30th, or should,
I think the 30th
on the
would be-
calendar it says June 4th. But since we're continuing on the 30th already,
You can hit the highlights just for the audiences here to see and stress to everybody, this is draft one of the budget,
this is the
of the
budget
proposed budget.
passed on by the committee. Follow here, Jennifer's got
yeah, this is
a
the,
significant amount of recap.
Yes.
The highlights of the budget, there's some revenue increases. Dominion Power we've provided the committee, and we'll give it to everybody, and maybe we can email it to everybody tomorrow, a copy of Dominion Power's expected rate increase, which is 10.1% on the rate. But the fuel adjustment went down, so the net increase to the buyer is about 5.3%, if I'm correct, but we'll get a copy. We'll get the final rates after the 1st of June, okay? We'll get the final rates after the 1st of June. So we may want to wait till after the 1st of June to really sit down and start hashing this out, because that's going to dictate a lot of what's going on. If June 4th is the date, then so be it. It has a $3 per month increase in the garbage collection. We did a comparison between other communities, and we really are twice a week for residential, and we find that we collect dumpsters 5 times a week for the big restaurants.
I like what you said in committee about coming up in the future with the rate for your big commercial versus small commercial.
We've
That's,
got some complaints from folks who probably generate
little
this much trash in the course of a week, okay? And they're paying the same as McDonald's. And not to say McDonald's not a great customer, it's just they make a lot more trash than the average
right.
small business. So we'd like to, during the course of this year, come up with a resolution that's revenue neutral, that we collect approximately the same amount of money, but we transfer the cost and the burden, the larger burden, to the larger consumer that's,
and just for the audience benefit, the council did, for years, we were $7 a month on garbage. In 2015, it doubled to $14. Cambridge, for example, $16.85 a month for once a week pickup. We're currently $14 a month for twice a week pickup. And Blackstone Garbage Men, who I will say are the best in South Virginia, they go to your back stoop, whereas a lot of communities require you to have it out of the road or you don't get your trash picked up. And they also pick up a lot of trash that's in containers that's not bagged like it's supposed to be, including sometimes my daughters just throw the McDonald's thing in there. I'm like, folks, bring it to the kitchen and put it in the bag. But, but anyway, so you're looking at going from 14 to 17 a month possibly.
and a portion of that money is going to pay, because right now, our street department, VDOT monies that go into the general fund are really paying for the salary of Ricky Clark. And Ricky Clark's the guy that rides around with that
Cherry
picker and picks up toilets and mattresses and sticks and brush and all that sort of thing.
best
And
services Blackstone offers.
that does transfer his salary and compensates for his salary being put into the garbage department, okay? And then the last item is 4-cent tax increase recommendation, which would produce approximately a $60,000 revenue. And I want to make sure everybody understands that $60,000 is shown in a revenue on real estate tax rate, but the expenditure is segregated. It's not used for raises or salaries. It's specific to resolving issues, just like you've got with Dillard Street, just like you've got on Tavern Street, just like you've got in other parts of town, private ditches. And this would create a budget, and then you guys can sit back and say, we're gonna prioritize the projects, and these are the kinds of things. So it gives you a tool. It's a tax increase. Nobody likes it. It's unpopular at best, but it does create a stream of revenue to do those kinds of things. And it gives you a cap as well. All right, those are the three revenue issues on expenditures. We're recommending, not for every employee, but for most employees, a 3% increase. And then for many of the lower paid employees, garbage men, that kind of thing, garbage truck drivers, we're trying to codify the rates, and most of those garbage men would then go up to a minimum of $10 an hour, and the garbage men will go to, the drivers will go up to $14.
Some are making 9 now, right? So some of the garbage men could be making about 10% raise, but they're going to $10 an hour.
Their 10% is a lot smaller than
Right.
other people's 10%.
Are there garbage men that make more than $10 an hour?
They're still getting
The
increases.
guys that have been here for a long time are making more than $10 an hour. We have some garbage men that have been with the town, certainly before my time, and they're making more than 10. They're probably more like 12, and I don't have an exact figure.
Got some.
Generally, do we have, what ballpark, all the raises combined, what do they call, what would they cost the taxpayer, just generally speaking? The total dollar figure?
I've got it.
Okay, that'd just be important for the council to know.
The 3% last year, if every employee were to receive 3%, last year was $73,000.
Okay, I thought it was about 80, okay.
Benefits and everything included.
Okay.
And so we've got some increases. We want to meet with the Police and Employment Committee. We've met with the Finance Committee, and we'd like to meet with you guys and go over these and make sure everybody understands who's getting what and how much and all those kinds of things. Expenditure highlights, if there are any. We don't have any new big sewer projects or new capital-intensive projects. We have $400,000 included in the budget, being paid 1/3 by water and sewer, 1/3 by street, or the general fund, and then 1/3 by the electric fund, to build a new town shop over up at Babs Lane. We've got $400,000. Our intention is to build a skin, and then we'll frame it in and do as much as we can. Get somebody to pour a slab, do the under slab plumbing and that sort of thing, and trying to get it.
Question. This $400,000 you allocating to build a bus shop, where did this idea come from?
I can tell you where it came from.
Beautification.
One of the ideas among several was for the town to vacate the beautification committee for years, and other people have talked about the town vacating Church Street. You just sold the town shop, and to put the Church Street property on the market for sale, and also enhance the appearance of Church Street and get it back on the,
It don't look great,
yeah.
but it is.
It served a
reaction
purpose.
to recent kind of calls and
We
complaints.
could
about
be,
what it looks like.
the sale of that real estate could come, I mean, I would think at least hit half probably.
The town bought that building 20 years ago for $150,000, just the building.
So there's room to make something. I mean, it's gonna cost us some, yes, but
The only proposal that I don't have is for the fuel tanks. That's not included in
Right,
the money.
right.
At this time, I think we just have to leave the fuel tanks where they are, and if the property behind it were to be sold.
they're not
or whatever.
unsightly.
And council, when you have your hearing on the budget, you may hear citizens saying, my goodness, it doesn't look that great, but hey, keep it, don't spend $400,000. You know, we haven't even set the night for the hearing, so I want to stress to everybody listening, this is just preliminary inside baseball before you, the people, get to talk about it.
We'll only spend what we actually expend. I mean, we're not gonna say, well, we'll make it 400 because we got 400.
No.
If it comes out at 250, then we spend 250.
No.
Our estimation in the budget is 400. Second item of significance is the fire department. The fire department would like to buy a new engine. And the engine they have is from the mid-'80s, well, you're still here, but 85, 84? 86. They'd like to buy a new engine. Currently, including the money that the town has put in this year and the monies that we've received from the county over the past 2 years, okay, there's today $158,000 in that account. My goal, if we have the cash at the end of the year, is to round that to $200,000, if we have the cash.
The engine costs $750.
Engine is $750,000.
We also may get the grant for the ladder truck. If we get that grant, our cost is what, 50 grand? No, more than that. It's 100. It's 5% of 1.1 million.
5% of 1 million.
Okay,
50,000, 55,000.
okay. So we got basically we're talking about a new ladder truck with a grant, and we're not gonna buy without the grant.
We can find that,
Right.
I think.
And that would not have to come out of town funds.
Wow, okay.
Now, our expectation this year is in the budget, you'll see there's a $100,000 line item in capital improvements, not in the fire department budget. Under capital improvements, or when you see CO, capital projects, and I think there's a capital projects fund, there's $100,000. That's specifically earmarked to be put into the fire apparatus. What we got, plus the county's 145. So at the best, I think we'll be pushing 350 at the end of the next fiscal year. The truck has been explained to me to be $750,000. So we're gonna talk a little bit more. There's a grant application that we'd like to submit and have council authorize a public hearing, that sort of thing. We do have $100,000 of local money included in for a fire truck to start building that fund. $45,000 a year, better than it was, but it don't buy a fire truck very quickly. Dion and I have talked. The intention was initially for that fire truck to be purchased in 2022. Okay? We put in the capital improvement plan 2024 because the tanker truck is paid off in 2024. I can't say that's an arbitrary number. It's simply because those funds that we currently make monthly payments on the tanker truck, they're paid off, and we could just transfer those payments back to this. Okay? I think that 2024 does not appeal, is that a correct term? Does not appeal to certain membership of the fire
What's
department. They really want to buy this truck. So.
What year is the first run engine right now? 2004. So it's getting there too.
I remember that one.
So
Life of service is how long typically for an engine?
Federal regulations, 15 years. You're supposed to put them in reserve status at 15 and out of service at 20.
So the one we're looking at replacing, 86, just so everybody knows, that's the year I was born, so that's 30 years.
I remember that being bought. That was a big deal. That was a big deal for the fire department when that was bought.
So there's $100,000 in this year's budget for local funds going towards that fire truck fund and building that up. The expectation is that hopefully we can meet your 2022. That's our expectation. But I'm gonna have to, in the next couple of years' budget, I'm gonna have to jack it up, or we're gonna have to borrow a significant amount of money.
Capital improvement, you have Wrigglesworth, all that area of sidewalks, that's in this year's budget, so they'll just transfer.
We have the first phase in this coming budget.